everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm Richard Carlton here at fmtrain.tv, and our ace person here to help us out today is Andy LeCates from Claris. That's right, Andy? Yes. What is your job at Well, I got some announcements to make, but just real quick, you're the vice president of marketing now. I understand that you've been promoted. Is that a true statement?
That is 100% not true. But I am in marketing, yeah. So technically, I'm a director of product marketing and evangelism, Richard. But as some of your audience knows, maybe not everyone, I come from the developer community. I was a developer and partner for many years, and I joined FileMaker Inc. as a systems engineer. So been kind of on the technical side of things for a long, long time. And a couple of years ago, joined marketing to come in and help impart as much as I can, a little bit of customer understanding and product understanding. So hopefully that's helping.
Very good, very good. So let me cover a quick couple announcements real quick. So on the upcoming broadcast schedule, if you visit fmtrain.tv, press the live tab on the left side. You can see the upcoming schedule. And so today is with Andy. We're answering kind of an open Q&A with questions, etc., answers relative to Problem Solver Circle, FileMaker 20, all the craziness. We started talking about it yesterday. And then, of course, we have an official Claris representation here today, which is great. Starting tomorrow, 30 days of CRM basics. Very, very excited about that. That will be 30 days for brand new people who want to come in, learn about the platform, and kind of cobble together their first solution. It's be very, very exciting. It's 30 days of that. And once again, this website is powered by FileMaker. So this data actually down here at the bottom is coming out of FileMaker. So we eat our own dog food. As a reminder, if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out our training bundle options. This is all our training, including the FileMaker certification training, which is interesting because we do have our patches. I am mailing out the patches for people who have become FileMaker certified. So if you get FileMaker certified this calendar year, and you have our training, we'll be mailing you a patch as a small reward for your hard work, which is very exciting. So we have the upcoming broadcast. Oh, something else. So pause on air. I wanted to do this for Martha. Pause on air, not kitty pause, but pause, as in pausing the script on air. This is the upcoming, there's no really Claris FileMaker Developer Conference this year. A couple of the developers are trying to put together a virtual conference, but essentially if you want to meet real people and really have food and talk to them and exchange ideas, things like that, the Pause and Air conference is coming up. You can open up and register for it now. I highly recommend you think about doing that. You can go to this website. It's going to work out to about $900 to $1,000 per person, not counting travel, but that's essentially kind of hotel, board, food, and the conference itself. So it's pretty cheap compared to other conferences. It's really pretty. It's out in kind of the rural area of Georgia. Very nice, kind of rolling foothills kind of idea. Maybe Andy will be there. That'll be exciting. A lot of people, but they are selling through on this. There's only so many slots for Pause and Air, so make sure you check that out. I will be there, and a bunch of live stream people will be there as well. So,
You are coming back, Richard?
yeah, I am. I will be back. We will be back with the helicopter this year. It'll be exciting. So that's right.
Yeah, it's in my backyard. I'm outside of Atlanta, so it's a couple hours drive up to the mountains. So I'm planning to be there. Looking forward to it very much. It's a great event.
It should be a lot of fun. Question is that yesterday we went through a very deep dive on 19.5. We talked loosely about 19.6. There's a lot coming up in those releases. There was a question that came up yesterday, and I answered it, but it might be worth repeating again. And someone said, well, I don't want to build a solution in FileMaker if I don't know if it's still going to be supported in 3 years. And the answer to the question wasn't too horribly bad, I don't think, but we were talking about it, basically the idea that if you go to Claris's announcements, they are clearly announcing upgrades, etc., to the product, the FileMaker Pro. And so what would be if someone says, well, can I trust what's going on, and do I trust you, and should I invest my time and money with Claris? What is your answer to that?
Yes, would be the easy answer. But yeah, I think Pete has been very explicit that FileMaker is not going anywhere, not in the negative sense. We're plowing forward into the future with it. I think one of the things that came back, Richard, as sort of areas of confusion or questioning is with the Claris platform, with Claris Pro, Claris Server, Claris Go, et cetera, what happens to FileMaker? Does it go away? The assumption has been that it does. It does not. the FileMaker platform will continue. There is no way we can expect the entire customer base to just switch overnight. So we will have both things in market. We get the sort of branding oddity that exists there, but it is to provide a smooth transition into the future for folks that wish to adopt Studio to be able to do so when they're ready and want to do that. But FileMaker will continue to move forward. So, 100%.
Okay, great. So real quick, Andy, so you saw this yesterday. I had popped this up. I'm just going to bring you up to speed loosely on the slide deck from yesterday. And really, we spent a lot of time talking about this slide right here, which I had some help from other Claris people kind of creating. But the idea is that, Pro is the professional authoring solution, right? If I play it in the window here, yeah, Pro's a professional. I'm sorry, your face is off there, so my apologies for that. But the Pro is a professional authoring solution. And as a result of that, then, everything else is kind of this new, almost like a new online collection of services called the Claris Studio, and we demonstrated that. But this is not going anywhere. Fundamentally, professional authoring is the core competency of what we've made our livings on for a long time.
100%. And to be sure, Claris Pro itself is FileMaker Pro with the new name, right? Like there will be some modest differences in functionality in order to support the integration with Claris Studio, of course. But the core functionality that we will develop for FileMaker moving forward will accrue to Claris Pro as well. So there's two things. Claris Pro essentially is FileMaker. So your skills, your tool set don't change by virtue of the rebranding. But at the same time, FileMaker continues to exist next to Claris Pro. FileMaker Pro will still be in market. And so if you're not ready to adopt the Claris named platform, you will be able to go forward with the FileMaker platform with no risk. So don't panic. We got you. FileMaker is what we're about, and we will take it to the future for sure.
Okay, so questions are starting to pop up here. And so before we get to that, why don't I have you summarize for us Problem Solver Circle? Because I spent time on it about 10 days ago. I didn't spend too much time on it. But we have a tremendous number of people here. Whatever we had yesterday, we got double the attendance today. So what is Problem Solver? Yeah, you're very red. I have to color correct for that. Problem Solver Circle. So I don't know how to put. I'm moving things around here because it's kind of dynamic. Just so most of you understand, we're broadcasting triplecast in YouTube, Twitch, and Discord simultaneously, and so it's a lot of moving pieces here. So Problem Solver Circle is not really technology so much, is it? It's more of a licensing friction thing.
It is a program, a licensing program available to our customers. It is different. And another point of confusion or conflation, a lot of questions that came after Pete and Brad and I presented was that Problem Solver Circle was associated very tightly with Claris Studio. And a lot of people assumed if I want to get Claris Studio, I got to get in Problem Solver Circle. That's true to an extent, but only a minor extent, because Problem Solver Circle is a program with a particular focus. It is about helping customers that have realized value with the FileMaker platform, but have not yet realized that value in a repeated fashion across their organization. We want to provide an opportunity for them to do that, but we don't want to just sort of make it attractive for customers to buy more of the product. The core goal is really to employ and engage developers and partners in our ecosystem, right? We made the explicit commitment with Brad last August that our developers and partners are our most important customers, right? Brad borrowed from his book, Let My People Surf, right? That you're our dirt baggers, right? The professionals who are using the platform day in and day out and know exactly what's needed. And so we wanted to focus on our developer community and give them space to do just more. And we know we have a lot of customers out there that use our platform and get a lot of value from it in a very focused way, maybe thinking of what they have with FileMaker as an app, right? But not a platform that can be used to create value across the company. And we fundamentally believe that companies right now, particularly right now, the pandemic, inflation, impending recession, all, people they had to lay off, now trying to rehire, all the issues that are happening in the marketplace, it is really hard for companies, and companies need to innovate everywhere. So we kind of wanted to build a program that is about licensing, enabling a business to basically have our platform for everyone in their organization, and not just have FileMaker, but also have Connect and access to a developer preview of Studio. So essentially all the technologies Claris can provide you for anybody in your organization that you want, available for one licensing fee. So that's what Problem Solver Circle is. And I hope that distinction from just Claris Studio itself is clear for starters. But does that help set the table
No,
on
it's
problem?
perfect. It's a perfect. So the technical components of it. Do you want to just cover the technical mechanics of it a little bit? I got a slide I can throw up here while you talk
Of
about
problem
that.
solver circle?
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
just
for sure.
hammer that real quick.
Yeah, and it is interesting, and I know I've gotten a couple questions that have come in on Discord, that it's something entirely new, and it is kind of an agile experiment for our company in how we go to market. We are basing the cost of the problem solver circle on your existing commitment to the platform. Which means that if you have a certain number of seats, and I've used this before, say 25 seats, but you have 100 employees in your organization, we base the cost of problem solver circle on your existing 25 seat commitment. And so if you have a VLA with us, a volume license agreement with us, and you renew it on an annual basis, we would take that agreement, add 30% to it. And then one point I think I failed on and wasn't clear enough in the original presentation is that it is a 2-year commitment. So we do bill for the 2-year cycle. So you pay for 2 years, but you get it at your existing rate plus 30%. So there's a little bit of upcharge there to help protect us from sort of the licensing risk, but also sort of allows us to provide, Claris Connect and everything else that we have, and then make it available to everybody. So it on the pure math, it looks super attractive if you have a small number of seats. If you got 10 seats, 25 seats, and you have a large number of employees, 100,000, whatever, we will license you for 1,000 employees, even if you had a 10-seat license and are paying for 13 for 2 years, right? So it's kind of an easy way to get in. There is another variant, which is that if you want to use FileMaker Cloud, and specifically FileMaker Cloud, not our cloud properties in general, Connect and Studio are not part of this math. But if you use FileMaker Cloud, then we change the upcharge to plus 100%. So we double instead of a 30% upcharge. But it's a 2-year commitment with us, 2-year license. And then during that time frame, again, you can build apps to your heart's content for anybody in your organization. You can make them public facing so that they can be used by vendors or suppliers or customers. And then at the end of 2 years, based on the value that you've built and accrued using the platform, we'll come back and true up, right? We'll look at the licensing that you got and the stuff that makes sense for you to keep. We'll figure out the new licensing based on our licensing models at the time, maybe revert to a VLA or whatever makes the most sense for the customer. So all this really comes down to is we wanted to reduce the friction of worrying about our licensing to go off and build more software. Right. So that is the goal. And hopefully the mechanics of the plan help support.
So we have some questions along the way. This is from Dirk. He says, what if a customer already has a 5-year prepaid? They've already paid for 5 years on a contract. What happens to them?
Yeah, this gets a little complex. And so this is why sometimes we say you call sales, because we will try to work through the math and make it all make sense. We can't credit back beyond a 2-year window. So it gets a little squirrely, but we do credit back some of your existing multi-year license into an extension in time on the 2-year window. And so again, if you have a multi-year license in place already, you've paid for it recently, you've got a lot of accrued time in front of you, call sales, they'll walk you through it and explain it. And we'll try to make it work. It may not always work. It may not make sense to do the conversion. Now, we know that it's not going to be for everybody. Originally, when we announced the program, for instance, we excluded site license customers. It didn't seem to make any sense to take an existing site license customer and convert them to a site license and have them pay more for that. Like, it just didn't make sense. But funny enough, we had a lot of customers that came in and said, no, I really do have an interest in that. And, can we work it out? And then we had another cohort of customers that early on we excluded, which was expired license. And I think the reason we excluded them originally was that fundamentally they have an expired license. One could come back and buy in at 5 seats, right? Even if they used to use 50 or whatever, they could buy in at 5 seats and then add on 30%, right? And get 1,000 seats of benefit. And we just didn't want to get into a gaming situation where people are trying to play with the numbers that way. But we can look at an expired license. And if you had a previous footprint and you really went back in, we'll make it work as well. So expired licenses and site licenses, we'll try to make the math work, call our sales guys, and they'll help you through it.
Okay, so and let's just stay on problem solver circle for a little bit here. So I'm going to start off with Kenneth Well from on the Twitch side says, how is problem solver circle different than having a site license, right? And really, it's not, right? It is kind of a site license plus studio, right? Kind of.
It's a site license plus Connect in Studio,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, if you have 100% site license for your organization, then yeah, what is the benefit? It would be early access, and the early access to Studio, should be said that at some point in the not too distant future, Studio will be broadly available, and so the advantage of that early access will cease to be a thing, right? As an advantage, you'll still have Studio in the problem solver circle, but some people are like, I got to get in now. I mean, if you can be a little patient and the problem solver circle does not make sense for your organization, just hold tight. We'll make it more broadly available when we can. But yeah, the difference between a site license and problem solver circle is that you will get Connect, you will get access to the problem solver circle. And there's something else there too, Richard, that we're going to pay attention to this cohort of customers in problem solver circle because, these are customers that are committing to a 2-year journey, presumably with the intent to do more, to work with their internal developer or work with a Claris partner to do more. And so we want that to succeed. We want customers to win and innovate throughout their organization. And so we're going to work with partners. We're going to, do what we can, maybe build content specific to that audience so that we can speak to the business owners and help them understand the value of the platform that they have beyond an app, but as a platform. And so we've got a 2-year journey to try and nurture that customer base, and we'll know who they are. And so I think that's a little bit more than just a site license. I don't want to say that there's some exclusive club there, but it'll give us a chance to learn about our customers maybe a little better than we can, just sort of a general sense today.
Okay,
So
cool. So, quick, easy question here for you. CJ Berlin wants to know: is this is Problem Solver Circle available for nonprofits and or education customers?
yes, it
Okay.
is, and the discounted pricing for nonprofits and education will apply. So again, I'm a marketing dummy now. Call sales will help you
Okay.
figure out the math. But yes,
Okay.
I don't think there's any exclusions
And
there.
speaking of sales and math, I'm going to throw this out there because Chris will yell at me if I don't mention this. But he says the actual cost of the Problem Solver Circle is 30%. Once again, we're talking on screen here about this you're using your own FileMaker server side, right? On-prem server. He says
Mhm.
Problem Solver Circle is 30% plus 2 years license costs at the existing seat count level, plus the lost value of whatever is left in the current existing license, which is
Um,
canceled and not credited to the program, correct?
some of it is credited back. There's a time that we will tack on to the end of the 2 years to sort of give you more runway with the problem solver circle based on your existing commitment. If you really look at it and you've expanded your seats by some fashion, then it could potentially cover well over a year of existing licensing commitment if it's just a sort of value trade up. But yes, if you are in it already on a 3 or longer year license with us, then it may or may not make sense to do the math, right? Just on
Yeah.
the pure math.
Yeah.
So call the sales guys and they'll help you through it.
Chris has
It
been,
isn't for everybody.
yeah, as a side note, Andy, Chris has been wrestling with a customer with 300 plus seats, and
Yep.
they're trying to get the math worked out. And initially, the math isn't looking so good. So maybe it's not a good fit for them. But the goal,
It may
Claris,
not be, but with 300 plus seats, we love them. And, hopefully we'll find, this is one program too. And the sign up ends at the end of the quarter, right? In June 24th, I think. So, and we're going to cap it at 500. I don't know if we'll get to 500. I hope we do. I hope people are interested and want to get in on this. But after the end of this quarter and we look forward, we'll get learnings from this. There are other customer cohorts that we can think about as well, and there may be new programs in the future. So yeah, this isn't the end all be all, but this is something I think is pretty exciting right now, and I hope some of the developers and partners out there feel the
okay,
same.
cool. Pivot, next question. So I'm going to cycle away from PSC briefly here, or kind of, it's all kind of intertwined. Matt Geek 27 on Twitch says the messaging about the app name has been confusing. Is FileMaker in quotes being renamed as Claris Pro, or will both products exist concurrently? If both are going to exist together, that seems confusing to end users. And I would simply say to Matt Geek, amen, brother. Right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no doubt. And we're going to have to keep beating the drum and telling the story, Richard, and clarify. But to get to the bright and glorious future where we have the economies of web scale as a complement to our FileMaker tool set, right? There's no direct path to get there that doesn't hurt, right? So we're building a transitionary path that will allow you one to adopt when they are ready into sort of the generation of FileMaker that works with Claris Studio, right? And that will be named Claris Pro, Claris Server, Claris Go, Claris Studio. We'll have all the hooks to Studio. It will include some of the other things that Pete talked about when we got together in his 4 pillars. I know that you've talked about them, Richard, but the idea of the unified identity across the platform.
The North Stars. Yeah, North Stars.
The North Stars, yes, yep. And that we will also be able to, because of that unified identity, we'll know who's using the platform. It will facilitate us getting to something with Claris Pro that we can't effectively do with FileMaker. Because once that we can't do with FileMaker Pro today, which is distributed in a freemium model, right? We'll be able to put controls on it so that you can use it in a single user fashion, use it forever. It's essentially a timeless way to trial the platform, use all the functionality of it, including Claris Studio in the cloud. So you can do that with Claris Pro in a freemium model. That's our vision, to get to that place. We can't just flip a switch and make that available in FileMaker without potentially destroying our business model, right? So we will have them live in parallel for a while. And when one is ready to get into the Claris branded version of the platform, then they're going to be able to, move it, at their leisure, at the right time, use Pro, which will have all the same functionality as FileMaker with the addition of the cloud scalable, high performance, technologies that are in Claris Studio, and move forward with that. It's going to be awesome. But it's the Claris identity. We'll have the data that's synthesized between the cloud properties and the FileMaker, Draco-based engine. So all your data is available anywhere. That new frictionless adoption for new customers we can facilitate in this manner. And there is a North Star about not breaking the work that we've already done.
The North Stars are on the screen right now. All 4 of them are right next to your smiling face. There you go.
Thank you. I'm sorry. You're good at this, Richard, and I'm learning, but I've got Discord over here.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching 4 screens at once right now. Yeah, so.
I think I know how to do this by now, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically it. So because of this transitionary phase, we're trying to create, I wouldn't say easy, but a relatively painless way for customers to continue to pursue what they've been doing, building value with the FileMaker platform, and transition to the modern variant of the platform when they are ready to do so, and then move forward with us with the extra cloud technologies into the future. And by the way, we think Studio has ridiculous future potential. Right. So we're starting small, and we can talk about that a little bit.
And we talked about that yesterday quite a bit. If someone has a question about that, we can go and demo it if you want. So the North Stars here, the 2 interesting ones are the outside ones for me. I mean, the middle ones here are talking about identity management and data everywhere. And I think that's kind of, all often fairly some obvious things about single sign-on, but not breaking all your hard work previously is kind of a big one for me. And then, then we have some questions. I've been kind of segregating the questions over here. Let's talk about freemium a little bit. And how much do you want to talk about freemium? Because there's questions here. Margaret, if you want to help me with the one question, the person said, what was the question about? Can I make a solution and distribute it? And
that would be from earlier. When I want to sell a standalone database, can my customers use the free future Claris Pro, or do they need to buy a Claris Pro license as well?
So
I think I lost audio. I think I got the question. I may have missed the end of it with an audio breakup there.
I'm sorry. He's asking about make it his own standalone application, and then can he use freemium because the runtime's gone. So can I use freemium as kind of this runtime kind of thing, whatever, right? What does that look like?
Yep. And candidly, I don't know. I don't know. I think that we want one to be able to freely explore the platform, learn it, get value from it, and then decide it at the point they want to deploy and start getting business utility out of it by sharing it, using it to solve problems across teams and companies. That's when we start monetizing it, right? The model of taking a file and sharing it with others like that, I don't know. I don't know what the control point is and how we monetize that or not. So I don't want to guess, and I don't want to set expectations wrong. I think we're thinking on this question a lot. But don't have an answer for you today.
Okay, cool. Because for the record, I have not personally seen the freemium variant. I'm sure they prototyped it. I haven't seen it. And even if we'd seen it, would it be the one that ships later in the year, whatever point that is? So we're moving on. We got tons of questions. Keep them coming.
And that may take some time. I don't know that will be here, at the first broadly available version of Claris Studio either, right? That again also needs to be worked out. I think when Pete was presenting with us, a couple of weeks ago, he was signaling intention not doing specific product announcements. So, be patient with this. We're gonna get stuff out there. Some of it will be MVP. What we're doing with the developer preview of Claris
Okay.
Studio is
I have a whistle. Where's my whistle? Time out. You used a fancy word, MVP, minimum viable product, right?
Sure.
Yeah, no, I'm helping because you went into super, and some of my people are gonna be like, most valuable player, what the hell, right? Minimum viable product, right? So
we're distributing Richard Carlton. He is the most valuable player. That is
no. That would be whim. We have to have the women here, right? Um, so real quick, two more. So I'm going to keep pivoting on questions here. These are these are two questions from two people on Twitch, but I'm going to roll them into one sentence here.
Yep.
What is the future of WebDirect, and does Draco go away?
Draco does not go away. The FileMaker is the strongest low code platform, particularly in an on-premise land-based environment. We know the power that's there. Draco is amazing, and so throwing Draco away for something else. The model, and I know that you presented on this, Richard, before, is to add new functionality that can complement what we have in the platform, not replace it, right? And so the early releases of Studio are not just focused on delivering that as a technology promise, but also focused on doing so in a way that at a feature level, at a functionality that would appeal to this audience as developers and our audience in general of customers, complements what you can do in FileMaker, right? If we're just giving you something that replaces something you can already do better in FileMaker, it makes no sense. And if we start over from scratch, trying to build a cloud property like all of our competitors have been doing, makes no sense. We have FileMaker, we use it, we get value from it. So our intention, that's an advantage for us, right? But the intention then, it focuses us. Like, we need to add functionality that will complement and be interesting to FileMaker customers. And so the initial release of Studio is focused on web-based forms at scale, right? Like anonymous facing web-based forms that you could have infinity users come and fill out and capture that data and then synthesize that with your systems on FileMaker. Draco will continue to exist. There will be a new database platform for the cloud-based Studio technologies, and those two will synchronize with each other or will work with each other in a way that I think we as developers already know how to do, which is through our relationships graph and something that looks an awful lot like ESS or external SQL stores, right?
Okay.
So and we'll expand on it in that way too. We believe there are lots of domains for value that we can provide through the Studio platform that will only complement and enhance what we can do in FileMaker. So.
Okay, so the next question is one from DrTed in Nevada, and it's a question that we kind of covered yesterday in our live stream. I flipped up on screen if you want to look at Discord real quick. This is the Claris Studio as it currently exists. The question is from him or her: will Claris Studio have a mobile Go type functionality? It's already kind of in here. So this is Claris Studio right here. If I come over here and I take a look at the forms, these are a collection of the forms that people have been putting together. I'm going to just reference the one that we were playing with, which is the Rocket Bunny registration. And this is a form that we threw together. So if you have a heavily armed rodent or a furry animal that you have in your house, you should register it with the government so they know it's dangerous. You can share this over here, and this is already functional. This is a responsive page already. If I pop it open here, I can kind of loosely simulate it by grabbing the window and smashing it down. And this is kind of how it will look. Now notice the graphics kind of got blown up and it's not perfect. But it is responsive. This is already a responsive solution. So the answer is the idea, and this also gets back to WebDirect a little bit. I think everyone on the planet knows WebDirect has certain limitations. In an ideal world, this would be so awesome in here that it would kind of allow you to circumvent WebDirect or maybe replace it, but it's clearly not there today. But being responsive for everyone is clearly, here day one. It's already here day one, right?
Yep. For sure. Yeah, I think on the question of WebDirect stays in the platform, and there will be, I know Pete has said this explicitly, there will definitely be use cases where WebDirect is the more capable, more powerful solution for you. But with, like you're saying, you get the advantages of the responsive design. It's really quick as well. One of the things that Robert Holsey and I were talking, one of the things that you get with this platform is your time. Robert went and rebuilt an application that we have internally that is a web data capture form, and he did it in FileMaker. And knowing in advance what he wanted to build. It took him something like 40 minutes to put it together, and it's great. And he can use WebDirect to distribute it. He did it using the new Studio product in 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So there's a freedom in the simplicity of the tools that, for the right use cases will make more sense. And then over time, Pete's promise is that our team should be able to also use the foundations of this technology to build very rapidly capabilities into the future, so that we're releasing a lot and often, and the functionality will increase. There will be times a year from now where you'd be like, oh, I would always use Studio for this problem, and I would still use WebDirect for others. But WebDirect's not going away. But yeah, Studio, they'll start to. You'll ask questions about which one is the better tool as we go through time.
David Angel, forms are public and anonymous. Yes, they are public and anonymous at this time. It's one of the biggest hangs it's like one of the biggest low-hanging fruit items that Claris has had is public forms or public anonymous data submission, right? That kind of stuff. So that's what this solves immediately. And that's why Margaret and I spent time, creating the fluffy bunny with a rocket launcher. So that was David's question. Other questions we have?
We had one from Sakari Group. I don't know if you want to do some more of the Studio questions.
Yeah, go ahead if we got a question.
Will public-facing forms in Studio be able to create relationships between tables on the back end?
Will they be able to create relationships?
Did he actually say the word create, Margaret?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, you're not gonna, if you're building, okay, back up. So if you're over here in this interface, I'm just going to walk you through kind of what we have. You have forms over here. You want to create a form. This is what we have today. This is a workflow. This is going to be a new form. Is it called, do we like Andy, right? Big question. You can fill out like A-N-D-Y, right? And you can fill this out. And we go through this whole process. It looks great. I think it's done. We have a first name, last name. Maybe we want to add, I'm just going to do this real quick so people can see this, a long text description. See, I do that, or do I drag it? Let me see. I haven't done this. Oh, there you go. Just drag it on there, right? So you can drag it down here. And then you could have a long discussion about why Andy, why Andy, why. And so immediately then what this does is it creates a table for you under the hood. There's a creation of a single flat file. That's today, a single flat file that it creates. It doesn't create relationships, etc. Could it do that in the future? I would think most likely somehow it could, right? But this is today, right?
Today. And the table is available to you then in FileMaker, right?
Yes, yes.
But sorry, let me restate that. The table is available to you in Claris Pro.
Yes.
Right. So, okay. It's going to take me some time too, Richard. But yeah, it's available in Claris Pro in the relationship graph, and so you can relate it to other things in your application if you want. If you've got multiple forms on Studio, you can relate those tables in ways that make sense to you there too. So.
All right, so let's just go through this. Some of you have not seen this, so I'm just going to do this real quick. So I'm going to pop it open. My first name is I'll just do this really quick. I've been actually practicing this since you guys fixed your bug the other day. I've been very excited about that. Put that
I know
in there.
We specifically instrumented a bug to keep Richard Carlton out.
Yeah, Richard Carlton and my favorite 75 people below me out of the system, right? So yeah, why Andy? He is great or not. Comments, make a VP of marketing, no peer pressure. There we go. All right, so then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna submit, okay? The data went in. Notice there was no construction of the underlying table, etc. Now, it didn't push the update. If I do a refresh right here, we'll get the data that's back over here in the data, and there's the data, right? Pretty cool. If I go into FileMaker, so Andy, I'm gonna move your smiling face. I'm just gonna move you off for a second, sorry.
No worries.
And so here is a FileMaker file. I'm going to make sure I am in, I did this the other day and I was like, I'm in the wrong product. So you got FileMaker Pro. This is the part that's confusing. And then you have Claris Pro, both of them installed in here. I'm going to use Claris Pro because it can talk to the Claris Studio. So if I go to File, I'm already connected. I've already logged in, but I would have to, if I would just say switch, I have to log in. Let's just pretend I'm going to log in. So I'm going to say Rick, and I'll try not to do this too fast. And a lot of you have seen this already, so this is pretty boring. I'll put my password in, If I can remember what it is, I log in. So now my copy of Claris Pro is talking behind the scenes to the database that's behind all this Claris Studio. And so what I can do is I say, well, I'm just going to start a brand new file. Let's start with the content management file or something, right? It's going to save it to my desktop, or I could save it on the server. This works just fine with FileMaker Server. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I've got, the kind of the usual suspects. If I take a look at my fields, I got 2 tables. Pretty straightforward. Relationships graph is super simple. I'm going to zoom in. Most of you can see that on, there we go, zoom in. So what I want to do is drag and drop on here the new table. Do we like Andy? I click this button right here. It pops up. What's new in here is this option right here. And so this is the new option, Claris Studio Data Source. And what it is that all the developers in the community that are part of this, basically all the kind of your top consultants, Salient, Beeswax, everyone. I mean, just look at the name here. It's a who's who. There's my Rocket Bunny table from earlier. And if I come down here, do we like Andy? There it is right there, right? I say, okay. It drops the table on here. And of course, it will drop a matching layout so we have some place to see the data, right? So if I say, okay, there's the data. So it's actually in here. This data matches. Now, for the time being on this, with this tool right now, this is definitely read-only on the FileMaker side, okay? It's read-only. If you edit over here, and I say I misspelled my name, that's actually how you spell it correctly. Come back over here. Oh, it's not up to date. It didn't refresh, right? How do I get that to refresh? I can close and reopen it, but this is where you get into some basic scripts, and you're just going to say refresh, refresh. Nope, that's the name of the script. That's fine. I'm going way too fast here. Refresh window command, which you should probably think about using in a limited capacity. It's very heavy on the performance penalty. You want this bottom option right here. This is what makes it work. Flush the external data from the other data systems, right? I say save. I'm going to come down here. Notice it's not update. I'll say update, and then it updates. So that's the basics of what we have going right now with integration. Down the road, I could see where you could read and write in here, right?
For sure. Yeah, 100%. Because it's like ESS, but Pete did mention, I think going back to last fall, that it's like ESS, but we own both sides of the pipeline too, right? So It's not dependent on somebody's driver pointing to somebody else's database. We have both sides of the equation. We expect to have more flexibility and power with the data integration between the two. So we're excited for this going forward. Yeah. This is a starting point. I won't use MVP anymore, Richard. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You laid another one on me the other day. It was some other acronym about partners, right? But I don't hang out enough with the cool kids at Claris. So so Kyle Williams, yes, we like Andy. That's good. Follow-up questions. That was the point. Want to know if they are headed. So this comes back to another question that was before, and I also saw this on. Nick Orr was talking about this last night on one of the partner threads somewhere. And he was thinking that this was ETS, but it's not really ETS. So do you have a roadmap? Have you published a roadmap besides this is really basic, we're going to add a lot of stuff to this and we're working on it? Is there any sort of what are the features that are over the next 3 or 6 months that you're going to add to Studio? What should we expect? Or is...
No, we don't have one published. And I think, though, the model that we're going to have will be a relatively constant communication of what's on the horizon, right? I think we have some ideas about next use cases that augment or go beyond just data entry forms. And we know that there's some other things that I think Pete mentioned in some of the prior podcasts we did where we know that at first launch, the servers for this or the data centers are all in US West. We know we have to have them in other parts of the world. This has to be a global tool. So we've got some of those infrastructure things to figure out. We know there's some functionality things we need to figure out getting bidirectional. But no, there isn't an explicit roadmap that will get you months down the road yet. I think we will get into a pattern though, Richard, where we'll come back and we'll just keep talking with y'all. And okay, here's where we are. Here's the things we've added in the last month. Here's the things we got in front of us and what we're moving towards. We have to figure out how to do that effectively, but we'll figure out a way. So that's why I'm here, man. I got to figure out how to do this. So
No, absolutely. So real quick, I'm gonna reply to this next question, and that way you can take a drink if you want. What's
yep.
the time frame for build out of studio, and how long before the polish shows? So let me just say two things. One, Claris has been on kind of this kick a little bit where they're doing agile, right? They're doing agile, and the cycle time between dot releases is about every 3 or 4 months, about quarterly, loosely. And then Pete said the other day that he was trying to shoot for some sort of internal cycle time of every 3 weeks, which seems really fast and aggressive. I would expect to see polish on this, substantial changes and improvements before the year's out, because right now we're really in kind of Q. Well, it's Claris or Apple Q3, right? Aren't we Apple Q3? But
We
the
are,
calendar
yeah,
Q2, right? Yeah, calendar Q2. So I would maybe even two more releases, major releases stuff before the end of the year, right? So
Yeah, I think when we get to general availability, there's some things that we want to suss out on the authentication side of thing. There's definitely some polish on the UX, and then some of the other infrastructure things I was talking about. But yeah, I think we'll be more rapid. I think particularly with the cloud properties where we can push, and it's not the same as distributing bits for you to push updates and more. We should be able to act in a much more consistent and rapid fashion. So yeah, looking forward to getting there.
Real quick for David Angel, he did ask a question about what new features or changes for WebDirect will be coming. I don't know that we're really going to talk about that today. I can tell you that in 19.5, there's at least one big bug fix for web viewers, not WebDirect per se, but there's like four. Is that true? 400 bug fixes in 19.5? Is that?
I haven't actually dug in to find the exact math, Richard, but I've seen that number, and I know that yeah, it's a lot. So I'm going with it. If Pete said 400, I believe him.
Okay.
I think with WebDirect as well, we're expecting some fairly significant performance improvements in 19.5 as well. So yeah, hopefully we're gonna have a nice.
So Jacob Taylor, which is kind of a miniature version of Wim de Court, is talking to me here, and about, without us digging out 19.5 specifically, there's some sort of fix about WebDirect file exports that's fixed in 19.5. So if you're dealing with export issue, that's looks like somehow that's been addressed in there. And that we expect 19.5 was supposed to be out already. We expect it soon, like weeks.
I don't know that I agree with that statement. I think I saw one of these streams, Richard, you did almost a month ago, where you said it should have been out. It's not been sitting on the shelf. We will get it out as soon as we can. I promise.
It's baked when it is baked. See, that's the difference, right? So that's the official Claris wrap, and then yeah, because I was told April originally, right? And then it kept kind of sliding backwards. So that's fine.
Yeah. We are really bullish on it, and you know we heard loud and clear from a lot of important voices in our developer community that to them the secret most important thing that Pete said in the presentation we did a couple of weeks ago was the announcement of 19.5 and 6, right? Like that's what we live and breathe on. We want that stuff. So we get that. We're going to get it out as soon as we can and launch it right. So yeah, we're excited for it too.
We have some security questions that maybe we want to tackle.
Yeah, I don't see them, but if you want to throw them out, Margaret, go ahead.
I will. They're both on Studio, I believe. So, so if I had my own separate Claris Studio account and logged in, would I see all of the forms that not only I created, but everyone else in the industry that has Claris Studio and have full access to them?
Nay.
Negative. No. Negative, Ghostwriter.
No, but I think part of the question probably comes from the fact that Richard's playing around with it now, and you can see all the other developers. But that's just by virtue of a development sandbox that we're allowing those partners to play in and test in. But no, when you own an account, it's yours. You won't.
It's not Airtable where you get to steal everyone's stuff and play with it. No, it's just because it was. Although it's educational, you guys have already found bugs that you might not have found for a while. Because we got all the developers in one sandbox playing, right? So, yeah, so that was kind of neat. So, cool.
Okay, well, another security question. What is going to keep one from scraping data from these public tables, such as email address? Oh, because they're not public. Never mind.
They're not public.
Nope. And then has there been any thought to added increases security and scaling options to enable light web commerce in Studio in the future?
So on the first question, I mean, I think you just answered it, but the answer is yes. That the data table behind there isn't publicly available. It looked that way for Richard because he's a designer and can see both views or whatever. He's essentially internally authenticated, so he's seeing both sides of the equation. But for someone who comes in anonymously, they can only see the form, submit the data. They won't get the rest. So I hope
Yeah.
that's clear.
Yes.
And then, in the future, will we build this out so that we can do commerce and things like that? Maybe, yes. I can't answer the question because I don't know. It's going to be, again, with the process we're following, we want to get it out in the market, find the use cases that matter, find what our customers want the most, figure out ways we can synthesize new and emerging technologies to advance as rapidly as we can. I would expect, I'm an optimist that the answer is always yes. It's just a matter of when. But we don't have a specific timeline for functionality like that. That's a little too far out. So
yeah.
Can't really answer it.
Let me help a little bit with this, and maybe because I can hang a little more rope out than maybe Andy can. So the platform, we got this Claris platform, and it's going to be the studio and cloud. I guess I call it Cloud 2, and you got Connect. And Connect, they're trying to bolt this in there. And Connect is your API connectivity stuff. I could easily see at some point, and I haven't played with Connect too much myself due to licensing, whatnot, issues like that. Those are all kind of going to go away. But Connect is the API hook. So with Connect, you could take the form that we're submitting over here. And so say we do the Rocket Bunny registration form, it could send a Slack message out. It could send an SMS out. It could send an email out. It could also post the information or start a process on a shopping cart. And here, now you're going to check out with Bunny Rocket merchandise, right? With it on a shirt or something, right? Is it there today? No, but Claris Connect is already kind of the infrastructure for it. And you have said that you're trying to get that all added to this studio. There's kind of this one cohesive.
It would make sense to do so, right? Studio is the way you sort of showed it in the UI there. The forms that we're building with it are predicated on sort of a workflow stage process where you go through a series of pages. And in the sense that we're doing workflows there, being able to reach out and do some API integrations makes a ton of sense. So Connect functionality, Pete is suggesting will be rolled into what's available in Studio.
Yep. So so that's from their VP of engineering, right? So okay, so it's a newbie question, and the person said this is from Twitch. What's the virtue of using Claris Studio? Over creating one's own FileMaker database that's hosted internally within one's organization, other than the obvious benefit of eventual subscription charge that Claris will be charging for hosting. How do you, it's kind of like a very broad kind of brush kind of question.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of different answers to that question based on the customer scenario. One thing is, while we look at the first release of Studio and it's very simplistic forms for ingesting data only and using them in FileMaker, over time it becomes more robust. And I can imagine a day where the answer would be because it's easier. Like if I am not a technologist, if I am a finance guy who runs a lot of numbers. I live on spreadsheets and I got to create a bunch of, dashboards and things like that. This may be a much easier tool to get in on than the sort of robust developer platform that we have in FileMaker. So for new audiences that want to engage in building apps in the organization, it just may be an easier development platform. For the developer who has the chops, knows FileMaker, can throw the JSON and build JavaScript integrations and everything else, why would I use it? Probably because I can be more efficient. Like Robert said when he built that one system and saved essentially 90% of his time. It's like we're giving developers time back in cases where you can develop super quickly with this thing and make a more beautiful system that's fully responsive. It just may be the better choice. So I think there's going to be a lot of answers to that. Plus the workflow orientation for it, you may find preferable in certain use cases than just starting from data and building a UX from scratch yourself. So I think the answer is myriad. There's lots of ways to answer that, but it won't always be the right tool. What we want to build is a platform that gives you a tool suite so that you have the right tools for any job. And that's part of why we're putting this in here.
Okay, so another question on YouTube came up, and they were asking about, if Go is offline, we'll be able to work with cache studio data. So this gets into the conversation of online versus offline. We've spent a lot of time discussing that on this daily live stream. We spent a week with Jesse Barnum on 360 Works with the MirrorSync product.
Yep.
Yesterday we did cover how to, what I was calling at the time, harvest the studio data down, get it off of studio, and that way it's in FileMaker locally, so it's really fast. If you harvest the data down to a local file on your iOS device, yes, you will have access to it, but you have to harvest it. If you want to learn about harvesting it, watch the live stream from yesterday.
Yeah, and I can imagine us doing that kind of the same way we have with FileMaker. There's a reason why Jesse's tools and the syncing capabilities that are out there are so important and popular, right? Even for FileMaker, which is available on the internet at large, right? So, yeah, we understand offline is a real advantage to the platform, and so we'll support it as best we can.
Okay, great. Other questions, Mark? Because I mean, it's been a froth. I mean, literally, it's a froth in here. I want to thank all of you.
We're going to miss people. I'm very sorry to everyone who we missed.
If we haven't answered your question, can you repeat it? Because I'm watching 3 screens here, and it's like watching the stock market ticker tape thing flying across the bottom.
We have, I think, a really fun one from Stu, since this hasn't been brought up by anyone else yet. Will the XML transporter capabilities, aka add-ons, increase right away with Claris Pro Studio? If not right away, will the pace of advancement in this area accelerate? Right. Basically, what are you doing with add-ons?
Yeah, no, I know that there are some improvements to add-ons coming with 19.5. Those will accrue to Claris Pro as well. Add-ons, I think, are fundamental to the strategy for the platform, right? It's awesome that we've opened the platform and allow you to extend its capabilities with JavaScript and integrations, and just straight API integrations into FileMaker, et cetera. But if we do that and we leave it solely in the domain of our most expert developers, and we don't provide ways to distribute those capabilities to people who aren't ready to throw that code, then the platform suffers. So yeah, no, I think we need to make add-ons really, really strong. I think they're a critical part of the strategy for FileMaker and by extension Claris Pro. So I would expect us to continue to pay attention to it. They are on the backlog in priority order along with everything else we're working on. So we haven't forgotten add-ons for sure.
Okay, so Lynn from Austin, I'll take this one for you, Lynn, real quick. So you'll be able to import data from Studio to Pro. We did that yesterday in our live stream yesterday. We demonstrated that.
Yeah, I mean, once it's in the relationship graph, we know what to do with it, right? Like
right.
We have the
right. There were some kind of hassles with it because we had to get some FileMaker 2 level hacks to try to, because there's no UID on the studio side. So I would imagine, I can't imagine that soon we would see some sort of primary key or something on the studio side that we could grab.
If that's super important, because we are building imports and want to be able to, and we need to synchronize, Richard, then that's good feedback. Like I'm taking that home right now. It's obviously something we want to pay attention to. So
well, yeah. If you watch the stream from yesterday, I was thinking how the hell to move the data, because it's on the graph. The problem became that if you don't want to delete everything and reload every time, you just want to get the changes. How do you identify the changes? It gets almost tricky. It got to the point where we were just trying to track. I've imported 35 records, so I'm going to go over to this studio side data and start importing from 36 down. And I just cringed because I could see Stephen Blackwell calling me and yelling at me about data integrity and stuff, and I don't want to get a hate phone call from that guy. So
as he should.
So there was some serious hackery that went on yesterday. Watch the stream yesterday if you're interested in that. But from a strategic standpoint, yeah, we have to have a way of precisely identifying records on the studio side, and right now we don't. But like I said, this is in early days. I mentioned.
For sure. It's a developer preview. We have more to do.
Yeah, sure. I mentioned that I was talking to Nick Orr yesterday on the stream, and I said, this is like the first time they shot the space shuttle. They put 2 astronauts on it that were very experienced, and literally the astronauts said, we were just there to take off the space shuttle, fly around for like a day and a half, and then land and see if we didn't die in the process. Everyone was scared shitless on that, and it turned out to work okay, but that was their first attempt. It was just and so that's what this is. We're playing with it. It works. I have confidence. Remember what I said to you years ago? People are asking them about, well, how does this fit with the strategy from 3 years ago with Srini? And I don't even know if you want to take that question, right? But there were a lot. You want to try that one? Because there were a lot of promises made at that time, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah. No, I have a deep respect for Srini. He's a very, very smart guy, really understood the market and where technologies were going. I think what he didn't have is a ton of empathy for this audience. Like he didn't really know in his bones how we use our platform and how powerful it is. And so I think he was pointing us towards a trajectory of technologies that really would benefit us all, but definitely hadn't communicated, but hadn't really synthesized it into a strategy to make it make sense within the context of the tool set, the skills, and the daily application that we apply with this thing. So I think by and large, if you look at what we're doing, it's rather consistent with Srini's vision of where the technologies were and how we avail ourselves of born in cloud, highly scalable technologies will allow us to do things we can't do well in the FileMaker platform itself. But we need to be able to do that without sacrificing this amazing thing that we have. And so, I think the story is a bit different, but it's not that radically, from a technology standpoint, it's not that radical a shift from some of the things he was thinking about. So,
Sure.
yeah.
All right, so this is a tough question here for you. I sent this off to marketing about 4 weeks ago and didn't get a response just because everyone was really busy. But this is a good question. You ready for this one? All right, dig deep. Here we go. So a few DevCons back, Claris had a very big emphasis on apps. They also, and I'm going to edit this question, it needs a little help. They've also since over the years released the iOS App SDK tool and the ability to publish apps on their iOS devices, but now we can take those and load those and run them on the Mac. And what is Claris's thoughts about this?
Yeah, it's a tough question because anytime we put the platform out in the wild in that fashion, then the question is how do we do that in a way that makes sense for the customer and that we can provide the best possible solution for the customer and essentially not give it away, right? There's something to the nature of the platform that we have. If I think of it as a walled garden in this low code functionality set that we've got, but one that we have then open to being extensible and whatnot, we want customers to be able to reach and deploy anywhere in whatever model makes sense. But we have to be a little bit cautious to not do so in a way that's going to just kind of upend the entire business model, right? That's kind of why we're going through this process of transition with Claris Pro and FileMaker Pro, because we have an idea of how to get into the future and build a product that really will carry us forward into the next wave, right? But we know that customers have got to get to a place where they can adopt it and make it make sense. iOS App SDK is still out there. We still believe in it. Lots of customers use it. Is it the way that we believe are we the best tool for modeling apps onto the Mac App Store through that tool? I don't know. I don't know if I feel that I have passion about that or feel strongly about that right now. But if that is the way and we can figure out how to make business sense out of it for all of us, then awesome. That tool set's there and we'll carry it forward. But right now we got some other things that are high priority for us.
Yeah. And so for DrTed in Nevada, so we talked about that. We actually demoed it the other day and we were stunned. And it actually does work, but you have to have an M1 or kind of that new Apple Silicon processor. And so that's like I think 8 or 10% of the available audience. Pretty small subset of people who could run that, who could utilize that runtime. So it's if you're looking for a nice wide group of people to run a runtime with, that's not it, at least not yet.
And we understand the issue of runtime as well as a distribution model. And so it's something we think about quite a lot. Do we have an answer or replacement for the runtime engine or tool set right now? No, we don't. But we're not immune to the desire for it, and we just have to figure out the right business model.
So Andy, do you have a hard stop at 2:00? Are you? What's your status there? You got a hot dinner?
I think I can be a little loose if we've got more because it sounded like we did. But yeah, I've got a little more time, Richard. I can't go super long, but I'm here at your pleasure. So
well, it's we had a lot of people, a lot of great questions here, and I want to thank everyone for coming. But we're gonna try to land the airplane. So let's see. So Matt, we answered that question. Other questions we have or have not answered for you folks?
We had one from Gigi Andrea. I don't know if you saw it in any news about the development environment. Currently, MBS for macOS is used to improve that a lot.
I think he's
Awesome.
asking about new features and well, there's features in 19.5 and 19.6, but in terms of like lots of raw, it's a lot of bug fixing and a lot of, I mean, I don't know. I stay tuned, I guess I would say for that stuff. You got
I guess
19.5.
I'm interpreting that question to mean that the MBS plugin is allowing you to improve the IDE, the development experience in
Yes.
the platform. Is that right? And awesome. Like, do we have plans to improve it or modernize it? Again, yeah, we think about that quite a lot. We have some other priorities that are on our focus right now. But part of the reason we have the add-on, APIs that we do is to allow the market to improve the product. So, yeah, I think we're keeping an eye on it, but no announcements right now for changes inside the product that I'm aware of.
All right. Cool.
I also want to say, Richard, that I know a lot of my questions are a little bit like ambiguous, or I'll say I don't know, or yeah, we don't know. We might go there, right? And I apologize for that, but part of that is, working with uncertainty, which is part and parcel of being agile. Like we have a lot of certainty about what's coming next week and next month. 3 months, pretty much. 6 months gets a little bit squiggly. A year out, who knows, right? So, we've got to get stuff out there and get learnings and get better, and we'll do that. And I think part of that is that I'm committing the company to be communicating with y'all as much as we can to stay on top of this stuff and answer the questions as we learn the answers. So,
okay, I have one last.
I'm not trying to dodge today. I do hope people don't understand that, but I am definitely listening and learning from the questions as well. This is really, really helpful to us. So thank you all for your interest and your questions. This is great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then so there's one last question here I'm going to take a swing at only because it's the obligatory Android question. Like, why is there not an Android version of FileMaker Go?
Yeah, again, that's a matter of prioritization and getting it right as well. I think we can do it. There's no prescription against it from the standpoint of our parent company. If it's the right thing to do for the business, it is the right thing to do for the business. It's just a matter of getting to it in the right order. We just have a lot on our plates right now.
It's quite a big list of things to do. All right,
for sure.
Well,
you didn't even mention that thing down there. Buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me move the screen here. Why don't you tell us about your suitcase real quick, right? What is that suitcase? And Martha's here.
You might be able to tell the audience more, Richard, because I think you've experienced it before,
we talked about pause on air a little bit ago. So somewhere along the line, I'm not quite sure what happened. They started putting the suitcase together, and I thought, what? It's like the presidential suitcase with the nuclear launch codes in it that he always has. No, each developer takes it. They add a little bit of themselves to the suitcase. And then it gets passed around, and I had it at Pause on Air a little bit last year, and you have it right now. And it's full of all sorts of random. It's even got a voice over IP.
I haven't opened it yet. I haven't looked inside.
Oh, you haven't looked. There's a voice over IP.
I'm loving the mystery.
Oh yeah, the voice over IP phone that's in there. That if you plug in and you follow the puzzle, it will call someone. I don't know who it calls. Might call the Pope. I have no idea. But
nice.
I
hope there's no air tags in there tracking me as I. The story of the thing is, if the audience hasn't been aware of it, is it's called the Suitcase Protocol. Go Google it. And I think it was a stroke of genius. I think Martha Zink and I don't know who else, Christy Ferris or somebody came up with this as COVID started up as a way to connect with other developers in this community. Can we do something? And the idea was to have this suitcase with some mysterious nature to it and pass it from developer to developer around the country, around the world maybe. And so I've gotten my turn recently, and I've had it for over a week, and I haven't looked inside yet because I love the mystery, but I will do so soon and figure out how I want to send it forth into the community next. So
a lot of fun. So if anyone has questions about this, we're going to call this good today. If anyone has questions about the broadcast, or you want to have a topic suggestion for me to go back to maybe Claire and say, hey, this would be a good topic, shoot us an email to support@rcconsulting.com, and that will go to probably get kicked up to me. But tomorrow we're starting 30 days of basic CRM introductory for brand new people, building your own first custom application. It's every day for 30 days. Well, Monday through Friday. We're taking the weekends off. So very, very excited.
I don't think I've had a chance to cuss yet, Richard. I wanted a duck sound over my voice.
The quacking over this. You could say something very questionable, right?
I'll save that for next time. We have to have me back. But I do want to say thank you. We really appreciate what you're doing to get the word out on the platform, Richard, and doing this stream. I know it's a lot of work, but thank you for having me. I'm humbled, and hope we can do this again sometime. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.